right, here we go. We're going to try this. 1, 2, 3, go.
Track number 1.
Did that work at all?
I don't know. I'm not so sure, Danny.
I think it did for the most part. Wow, that was pretty cool. Well, we're learning. We're practicing right now. Very cool. Well, welcome to another edition of Off the Record, a post-Thanksgiving episode with me, Danny.
And me, Amy.
And Amy, to sort of maintain our Leo status around here.
That's right.
Since Simon's gone this week for Thanksgiving, we have Amy in here. Thanks a lot for coming, Amy. So how was your Thanksgiving?
It was all right.
Yeah?
I got to hang out with my grandma and my mom, which is most important.
It was just the three of you?
No, it was
okay.
us and the other parts of the family, but they're the most fun.
They're the most fun? So do you guys kind of make fun of everybody?
No.
Oh, okay.
We're not into that, but we just hang out with each other.
Mm-hmm. So
Grandma's real big into poker.
Really?
My grandma could take you down in 2 seconds.
So did you played poker at the Thanksgiving
No,
table?
I had to leave. I was feeling kind of sick, but
they did.
Yeah, they did.
So some of your family went home broke last night because of Grandma?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, you got a really cool family. We just looked at my aunt collects these China dolls, and they all have wedding gowns, and she just acquired the Princess Diana wedding gown for one of her China dolls.
Well, we've done stuff like that before in my family too.
Yeah.
We're not all that cool.
We had a big dome debate too. I don't even want to go into that. But anyway, this is Off the Record. Me and Amy are hanging out here today. We have the top 7 to get into in just a moment, plus new music this week. A couple of reissues from 22 Pista Perco and Orchestra Riviera.
That sounds like some fun.
Yeah, it's going to be cool. Some 70s Cuban style stuff. Also, the Gothic Archies, which is a new band. Another band with Stephen Merritt from Magnetic Fields in it, and some Prince Paul, Funk Dubious. And we'll also be talking about a whole bunch of shows that are going on this weekend around town. And our special guest on the show this week, by way of phone and 4 CDs, which one track of which we just heard is Wayne Coyne from the Flaming Lips. Huh?
Not bad.
Pretty cool.
This is a pretty technology-driven show today.
Yeah, very much so.
All the elements have to come together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like those 4 CDs playing at once. Did it turn out? I'm not exactly sure.
I'm not sure because I couldn't see them all, but I heard them all.
Mine were playing, and I could hear mine where I was.
Yeah, maybe we should explain to people. The new Flaming Lips disc is 4 CDs, and you got to play them all at the same time in order to hear the songs. So we got Amy down the hall on 2 CDs, and I have 2 CDs here, and so we're gonna try to put it together for you. And I think our first attempt was a little
shaky at first.
It was a little shaky, but you know what? It was my fault.
It's because you forgot to push a button.
I forgot to press this button here, but
Yeah.
we'll get better.
We're getting the hang of it.
And I think with Wayne on the phone next hour, it might it'll be sort of like he's watching over our shoulder, and so we can't really mess it up. So let's get into this week's top 7 and get on with it. This week at number 7, the new one from Modest Mouse, and the song is Convenient Parking, which is apt for today since nobody's around. Pretty cool. It's on Off the Record. I'm on the other line talking to millions.
But yeah, I didn't make it seem like she had to go, but as soon as I said that, she split.
Well, that's cool. So, Wayne, how was your Thanksgiving?
It was fine, but I've got to tell you, it's about 70 degrees here.
Oh, really?
And
oh, no.
And I live in a neighborhood where there's a lot of kids who get bored real easy. And we had put Christmas lights up just like at the beginning of the week on the trees in the front of our yard. And the hoodlum-esque sort of kids around the neighborhood stole them out of our tree.
Already?
Well, it's so nice out that I think they just, you get bored, and when it's cold, I think it sort of keeps that sort of outside vandalism.
So kind of inspired them.
Right, and now, it's just so nice. It's as if it's summertime.
Well, I'm sorry. I hope it doesn't ruin your holiday.
No, well, they're cheap. Christmas lights are cheap these days, but...
Yeah, you guys probably have a lot of those, too.
We do, yeah. Yeah.
Well, I guess we should explain to people. I'm talking to Wayne from the Flaming Lips, and... we just got their new record. Now, what's the proper pronunciation of the new record?
Well, that's hard to say. A lot of people just say Zaireeka. And that's fine with me.
I've been saying Zaireeka.
Right. See, I found that to be a bit tough.
Yeah.
Because even though it looks like Zaire and Eka at the end, I thought to say it to kind of sound like you're speaking like bad French or something. So I kind of say it, just the way it sounds good to say it as opposed to the way it looks like it should be said. So any way you want to say it is fine with me.
Cool. Yeah. Well, that's kind of the premise of the record is there's several ways to listen to it, actually.
Exactly.
Do you want to maybe explain that? We've been talking about it, but I thought we'd get it from the horse's mouth and maybe tell us how it evolved into what it is now.
Well, the liner notes that come with it sort of explain the kind of elaborate, thinking process that came from the parking lot experiment things that I've been doing here really since, over a year now.
Right.
And how that sort of led up to, the record that you're going to be playing here. But a lot of it really, I think, is just, it stems from the fact that I think, I felt like people will say all the time that, everything's been done. You get this sort of, ain't no sense in trying to think up anything new because, God, everything's been done. And, I really don't think that. I don't think that will ever be true. I think as long as people have any kind of imagination, that there should always be new things. And so with that in mind, I've always thought that the Flaming Lips as a band have always taken a lot from, the music and ideas of other people in general. You know what I mean? And said, yes, we're showing people our influences, and we're showing people this and that. And I really felt like, some of these ideas that I had, I should start to do them as opposed to just trying to be, carrying on these rock and roll traditions or whatever that crap is.
Right. So this whole idea of having 30 cars playing different tapes, it's sort of just something you thought of, and you weren't inspired by anything else then?
Well, no. I mean, really,
Somewhat.
I thought the idea was really pretty ridiculous. and so, in keeping with that, I thought, well, why not? Some of the best things in the world start out really ridiculous.
Right.
But at the same time, it was really entertaining to me for the most part.
Right.
And once I started sort of getting involved in it, people seemed to sort of support it because I was going to need their help to do it all anyway. And so it just sort of evolved from there. And one thing kind of opened the door to the other.
Yeah.
And I think the Flaming Lips in general have always sort of been expected to do something that was, I don't know, a little bit strange, I guess.
On the edge.
Well, I hate to use that word because it sounds like we're into extreme sports or something.
But you're always evolving with each record.
Oh, we should be. I think any band has a responsibility somewhere along the way to keep doing something that is interesting, And with that in mind, I said, well, shit, we should just go for it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, that's the big overall thinking that went into making a record like this.
Yeah.
But it was the parking lot experiments that I was doing little by little was sort of telling us how we would go about doing it, because I sometimes feel like it's like the cavemen sitting in the cave looking up at the moon going, someone should go to the moon. It's a great idea, but it's hard to do.
Right.
And through doing some of these things, I found out ways to record and to separate things and to make things work just on a technical level.
Right.
I don't know if that answers any of your...
Yeah. Well, it is really interesting because sometimes you talk a little bit about this in the book too, that sometimes you hear things before it actually happens elsewhere on like one of the other CDs.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's really cool because I was thinking while I was listening to it, you listen to an album and you pretty much have the same experience every time. I mean, you can be in a different place or you can be at somebody's house listening to the same album and have somewhat of a different experience, but really with this there's no way to ever have the same experience listening to it because you're sitting in different places, or maybe one of the stereos is weaker than the others, and
and really you can pick and choose, and I think the argument is true that it's not one variation isn't that much different from the other, but I think given the 4 CDs that you could pick, if you want to play one, you can play 2 of them together, you can play 3 of them together, or pick and choose any 2 or 3 that you want to play, that it really gives you a variety of moods that happen with any given song. And I don't know if variety is necessarily good, but at least it is variety of some kind, that you aren't just stuck with what we give you and that's the end of it.
Yeah. So it's more, I guess, quote unquote interactive. And
well, the word interactive I think sometimes even has a bad ring to it, because I think people anymore get used to something being interactive, and what it really means is you go around and you press a bunch of little buttons that turn into games on a computer. You know what I mean? And even that term I don't feel like really does it, because it's not so much that it's interactive. It really, that's not the thing that is really, I think, is exciting about it. What's exciting about it is that you really kind of have to hear music in a different way.
Right.
And you have to help it along. Now, if that's being interactive, I suppose that's not such a bad thing.
Get used to it.
Yeah.
Well, let's hear a song now then from Zaireeka. And I think right now we're going to play 35,000 Feet of Despair.
Oh, a depressing tune.
It's depressing?
Well,
I thought it was kind of, I thought it was more of like an adventure or something.
Oh, okay, well, good. Okay, well, there you go.
But it's I guess it is kind of depressing subject. It's based on a guy falling in an airplane pilot abandoning the cockpit.
Well, right. I mean, but he has another pilot. His co-pilot takes over, and while he's flying, he goes to the bathroom and hangs himself.
Oh no.
Which I know anybody.
That is pretty depressing then, I guess.
Anybody who's been in those bathrooms in an airplane would say, gee, that would be hard to do.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
But I'm picturing that he's not a really tall pilot. and that he's really determined at the same time. And I don't want to make light of it because suicide and holidays and all that are, can be some pretty heavy stuff. But that's basically what it's about.
Well, let's take a listen to it, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit more.
Okay.
Talking to Wayne from the Flaming Lips. Now, we have Amy down the hall with 2 CD players, and I'm in here with 2, and they're all going to go out over the air. So it's, I don't know if this has been done before. Has any other radio station done this?
Well, I've been on the air a couple of times already where people have been doing it.
Okay.
Or are you guys going to count off and hope that you press them all together?
Yeah, I can't even see her, so I hope she's listening. Well, I was hoping this was a first or something, but
well, we could say it is, but...
Okay, this is a first, a Twin Cities first.
I think all the other people actually were in the same room. Maybe in some way it is.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's take a listen then. This is the new one from the Flaming Lips. Amy, I hope you're ready. 1, 2, 3, go.
Track number 3.
Track number 3. Track number 3.
Number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4.
like one of those sound effect records?
No, it's one of these, like a demonstration record for, I think it's from 1962 or something, that was made for hospitals.
Oh, okay.
It's these actual heartbeats, and this guy would come on and talk about what's going to happen. But the heartbeat itself, it's weird how sometimes when things are real, they don't sound very real. They don't sound like you'd think they would, because the actual heartbeat, this guy is dying, and his heart is just going, and it really is, it's barely audible. So what I had to do is I recorded it, and then I slowed it down and really beefed up the EQ on it. So any like doctor who, if it happens to be listening, and he hears me say it's a real recording, he would know it's not, because hearts never really sound like that.
Right.
So I slowed it down, and I EQ'd it just to give it more dramatic effect.
Well, now the secret's out.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, I'm curious, how actually did you guys record this? Did you record it with the 4-CD idea in mind, or did it just evolve to that?
Right. We knew that song that you just played actually was the first song that we recorded, and when you even when you read the liner notes and stuff, you can see how it's kind of done in little sections.
Yeah.
And so that one was a real easy one to approach, because it really has no real basic drum beat or anything to it, so it kind of floats along. And you could see where you could put a heartbeat on one, a piano on one, an airplane on another, and give it sort of just a song with different types of mood and ambience going along with it. But once we had done that one, it's like, okay, well, now what do you do? So really each song sort of became its own little dilemma of how do you go about, making it something interesting to listen to, but at the same time give it this bigger dimension.
Right.
And we had about, probably 12 or 13 songs that we had sort of thought, well, why don't we try to do this 4-CD thing to these? But, you really can't know what's going to happen until, we would start to do it. Some of the songs would work out good. Some of them really didn't work out at all, and it was really just a matter of getting in there and kind of just trying billions of different things. And what we were doing as we were recording it, we were using DAB players. We had 4 different DAB players that we would do, just like you guys are doing there, would hit play all at the same time. And
so you would test it each time you'd record something?
Well, we would sort of start off, with the initial recording, and then we thought, okay, well, that will be one CD, and then we would start it on another one, and we would just go ahead and make flats of it, and we'd slowly build from 2 to 3, and then 3 to 4, and just see how it worked. And some of them really, I think, it's like anything. Once you figure out how to do it, it all sort of falls into place. But it took us a couple of months to begin with to really figure out, just even technically, how some of these things are going to work, because you can picture how it could work.
Yeah.
And but sometimes it's really difficult just to make it all kind of happen, because we're really just dealing with the same type of recording stuff that we always had, where you have a board and 2-inch tape and all that sort of stuff. And I don't know. It really, you have to sort of question, is it any good? I guess that's really what we would run into a lot. It's like, well, yeah, it's doing that, but is it any good? And that's where some of it, you almost have to put some of these things out and get a response.
Right.
Because they're just so, we've worked on these things for so long that we don't know if they're just stupid. And so it's always good to have normal people listen to it and just think, oh, that's...
Well, how has the response been so far?
Well, most of the response, unfortunately, doesn't...
Getting a lot of negative email and stuff?
Well, it comes really from nuts like you guys, who are trying to do something that's interesting anyway.
Yeah.
So,
that's cool.
It's hard to say.
Well, yeah, I think when I explain it to people, they're either like, oh, that's just some sort of novelty, and they're not really into it. But then there's probably people that would already be into it. I guess, what do you guys expect as far as like the fans, how their reaction to it?
Well, it's hard to say. Sometimes, having fans is both a good thing and a bad thing, because you kind of, we always feel a sort of responsibility to do something that we hope people like, but at the same time to do exactly what we like.
Right.
And sometimes they're not the same thing. And, when we went into this, we didn't really know what we were going to do. We always have a backup plan, and we thought, well, if this doesn't work out, well, we can always put out a CD that's just well, I hate to say it, just a normal CD where you just put it out and it comes out
Another-
through speakers, you know.
Mhm.
And so that was always an option. You know, it wasn't like that we were stuck with this idea because really no one cared that we were doing it, and let alone no one knew we were doing it. So, when people would say it's novelty or whatever, I would almost encourage people to think it's a novelty.
Yeah.
To say, because I don't think that there's anything intrinsically bad about being novelty. I think that's what kind of separates us from, just being just another boring rock band. Is that
Right.
that we're trying in some way to do something that you won't get anywhere else. We're doing it, and it isn't a trend. It isn't something that, that people have done in the past. It's really a unique thing. And I don't know why people would think that that's bad. I mean, when it comes to music and ideas and things like that, I would think that those would be qualities people would look for.
Yeah.
Originality and stuff like that.
Exactly. Cool.
I'm not sure they do, but I certainly look for those.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. Well, let's play another track. This one kind of reminds me of like a Dr. Seuss book or something. The train runs over the camel but is derailed by the gnat. Were you thinking along those lines somewhat, or?
Well, I'm always probably thinking somewhere along the lines of Dr. Seuss if I could help it.
Yeah.
But no, I mean the title really came a long time after the song because I didn't have a title for the song, and the song, that saying that goes along with the song, really it was so true of the sort of thinking on this, where we could get the big picture. We knew what the big picture was so easily and plain to see.
Yeah.
But sometimes the littlest technical thing could send this whole thing just right off track. And so that really was kind of it's kind of a metaphor for, really most of the big problems you run into.
Right.
Because you can clearly see the big picture. It's the little details that always fuck everything up.
Well, let's take a listen to it then. This is another track off the new Flaming Lips record, and I think we'll be back to close off the show in just a bit.
Okay.
This is track number 5, Amy. Get ready. This is...
Now you got to give her a little bit better of a count. So
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to... Okay, 1, 2, 3, go.
Track number
Was
5.
she ready?
I think so. It's a little off, but... that turned out really nice. I guess I kind of was messing with Amy and I played the wrong track and she had to catch up with me.
Oh.
But it came out really nice.
Well, there you go. You
Yeah.
got your own mixing as you went there.
Awesome.
Well, see, I mean, you know, because it's supposed to be, you guys are broadcasting it, and obviously it's coming out of stereo.
Yeah.
Whoever's sort of receiving it. But, you know, if you were to do this at your house, you know, you would have it coming from, you know, the front and the back and all over the place because you'd have 4 separate things happening there.
Yeah, and you had
See,
8 different channels.
Exactly. So,
Cool.
I mean, the disorienting part of it sort of hits you from all over the place as opposed to just stereos.
Yeah, really. I don't even want to get into the 6th track. The how will we know futuristic crescendos?
Exactly, yeah.
Because that was just, it's I guess we can explain to people. It's really like multiple frequencies all at once. Is that do I understand?
Well, they're frequencies that really are just. Yeah, the low frequencies you can't hear, and the high frequencies you really hear too much.
Yeah.
And they're the sort of things that you can do that are just kind of fun.
Yeah.
A lot of people have always talked about, you know, experiments that people have done with the high frequency and low frequency to actually do sort of crowd control sort of things.
Yeah, it definitely controlled me.
That's what I would say. It controlled you, so you had to shut it off. Yeah, it shut that crap off.
Well, thanks a lot for joining us this afternoon.
Well,
It's really cool.
It was strange being part of your show there.
Yeah, it's really cool. We got 2 phone lines going and 4 CD players. I think we might explode soon here.
Okay.
But you have a good weekend, and what can people look forward to from the Lips then?
Well, gosh, you know, I don't know. Hopefully, just give me a call next week and we'll try something else.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Let's do it. Well, have a good weekend,
All right,
Wayne.
we'll see you.
And we'll talk to you later.
All right, bye.
And we're going to leave with one more track from the record, track number 8, and it's called The Big Old Bug Is the New Baby Now. 1, 2, 3, go.
Track
See you, Wayne.
number 8.
Yeah, it's working.
Number 3, and number 4.
We have 3 dogs.
that love to chew stuff up.
So we're always getting them toys and stuffed animals and stuff so they can destroy them. And usually whatever we get, they shred to pieces within a couple of days. And one day, I noticed that the stuffed animal that we'd gotten had had it for about a week and it had remained relatively unharmed. A little bit dirty, but it really didn't have any damage. So I was kind of watching it for the next couple of days and I noticed that for some weird reason, this little stuffed animal, it seemed like they all liked it for some weird reason. It was special. And not only did they not chew it up, but they sort of made it seem like it was their baby. Like they was some sort of,
They treated it as though it was their own baby.
so I thought, this is weird. How strange this is. Of all the toys and things that we get for some weird reason, this one,
It wasn't really any different than the rest, but this one's meant to be special.
so there you go. So some time passed, and one day I noticed that this box of big plastic insects that I'd been keeping on the shelf in the bathroom had somehow fallen down. And unfortunately, it looked
As though the dogs had already chewed up most of the stuff in it. Big giant spiders and
ants and cockroaches and stuff that were in it. And as I walked around the house, picking up the shredded pieces of
these plastic insects.
I came across the baby. You know, the
Stuffed animal baby.
And there it was, just torn to shreds. Like everything else, all the other stuff. Finally, this one was torn to shreds. So later on, I come across one of the giant grasshoppers that for some reason
Hadn't been chewed up at all.
not even as much as a small tooth.
So I watched. And it occurs to me that for some reason,
Their affections have changed. And I can plainly see that instead of the stuffed animal, the big old bug is the new baby.
6 a.m. You can continue listening to Radio K in Minneapolis on Paragon Cable 91.7 FM.